As expected, we get more Cerato-y goodness today, but first, a word from Troodon, because it decided to show up and grace us with its presence after quite some time, actually. I remember Troodon exists, but sometimes I forget that it was supposed to be done eons ago. Like, they kept saying it's basically complete, it's just in testing. It's been in testing for, like, what is it, 7 months now? I haven't been keeping track, but I remember someone saying 6 months a while back. And so ever since then, I'm like, okay, how long has it been since I've heard someone say it was 6 months? Sits there, thinks, I don't remember, so I'm just gonna say possibly around 7? I don't know. I don't keep track, I know other people do, and I'm sure someone down below is gonna say, oh yeah, it's been X amount of months, and it's still not done. But anyway, Troodon. It seems to be some sort of pouncing animation, I imagine. I mean, it looks an awful lot like a pounce. To me, it's actually really cute. I like this one a lot. I love the way its mouth opens and stuff, and just the way it moves. It's just a really cute animation. I really like this one a lot. And granted, Troodon in general is just, it's cute. I enjoy it. It's a funny little guy, and I'm excited to try it when it shows up in another 6 months or so. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Probably the next time I play the game, it'll be when Troodon's in. I'd like to hope by then Cerato is also there, but that is like the biggest pipe dream ever. It is the biggest lie I will ever tell myself. But, hey, I'd like to see Cerato sometime this year. Maybe we'll get lucky. But anyway, let's move right along to Cerato-y goodness, because we know it's going to take a while. This one had a few animations in it, not just 1 or 2. Right off the bat I can think of, well, I mean, there was a general walk at the very start. I don't remember if he worked on it or not, but I know there was one. I remember a lot of limping ones. There was a sort of sideways one, which might have been him turning? I can't quite remember, but there was an overly dramatic hurt animation, and then there was a mildly hurt animation. And, you know, as with most of them, it was a lot to do with the feet, and I cut a chunk of what he was doing with the feet, because it's placement, toe placement, where the foot goes, how it rotates, all the good stuff that we don't need to see for 5 hours. So it was cut. I mean, you'll see some of it here, but yeah, a lot of the feet stuff is so minor that it's not even worth being there. It's just, it's tilting, rotating, moving the toes, stuff like that. I mean, you can probably see it on the screen right now, maybe. I don't know. I don't line them up. There's no point. Anyhow, aside from that, there was, with the injury one, there was a lot to do with the arms. As usual, the arms like to go places they shouldn't, or they just kind of hang out. So he had to adjust them very, very carefully. Lots of little tucking up against the body, or having one dangling down, and all sorts of stuff like that. There was this one sideways walk thing that happened during this, and I don't quite know if it was the beginning of the injury one, or if it was something to do with the turn. But it was very interesting to look at. It reminded me, there's a modded Ceratosaurus in art, and it has this sideways walk it'll do as one of its special abilities. And it made me think of that for a little bit. I think this one was going into the injury animation. Or it could have been like a previous version, like a concept of one of its injury animations, and then it either got scrapped or he just worked on something else, because after that it did go into an injury one, but it didn't have that sideways walk going on. I actually can't remember in the trailer that Cerato had a while back, didn't he have something like that where he'd walk a certain way? So I almost wonder if that was part of that, maybe? I don't know. It's been a while since I've looked at Cerato's trailer, actually. I should look at that again sometime. It was a nice one, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about whatever's going on here. I think it's injury. Yes, injury stuff. Let's do that. So far, I'm not going to talk about the head. We're going to ignore head movement from now on. You guys know how much I hate it when it moves too much because it doesn't make sense. But anyway. In this case, the injury one looks really nice so far. It's kind of like the galley, actually, where one arm's tucked up against its body and then the other one's just hanging down. Its head's curled up against its body a little bit, and It is in pain, and you can tell very easily just by glancing at it that, you know, it's got the hunched back, something's up, and it's nice. I like it. I enjoy it for the most part. It is very nice to see. It is, as some would say, pleasing to the eyeballs. I like it. I mean, there's not much else to say on that part. I just like it. I think it's neat. That's it. Anyway, it's a lot of the injured animation, to be honest. I included a lot of his tweaks in the injury department because a lot of them were actually, you know, substantial. Like, you know, adjusting the arm to hang down, adjusting the other to hook upward, adjusting the neck so it was closer to the body, the back would be hunched, the angle that he was walking on, stuff like that. And there was, of course, the animation where he was mostly walking normal, and then the other one where he was just horribly limping. Stuff like that. So yeah, as far as locomotion goes, the injury one at least has a lot to say on that. But that aside, there was a portion that's, I think, decently long if I remember. I know I was able to cut it a little bit because he'd hang in one place for a while. However, it was going between the juvenile morph and the adult one, and you'd see it very noticeably change, and it was very sudden because he was clicking between the two. I think some points he was using a slider. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, so that part goes on for a little while, but it was nice to see, you know, the little baby one turn into the adult right before your eyes, and I think he might have even done it partway through one of the animations or something like that. Don't quite recall, but yeah, that was an interesting point. Again, the injury one, but still, it was nice to see. I enjoy seeing it, because in game it all happens so subtly. It's the boiling frog effect, where you're just there in the moment, and you don't really notice these changes. Like, you're a baby, and then you're not. You don't see every little tick of growth or anything, it slowly happens over time. Which is a stark contrast to Legacy, of course, where you, at certain points, have to press the grow button in order to actually grow, and then you'd be, you know, suddenly a ton different. And it was like, oh, wow, there we go, there's the adult model. It looks a lot different from the sub model now, doesn't it? Oh boy, I remember that. I would obsessively check back to that button when I figured I was close to, well, I mean, there was the percent meter, if I recall. So I'd usually hunker down around 99 and just sit there waiting for the button to become clickable, because I wanted to be able to grow properly as soon as possible instead of accidentally stick to sub-adult for a really long time, and then my time continues as a sub-adult instead of going through, you know, adult, so you can, you know, gain more power and survive a little bit better, get faster, all the good stuff. So I'd just sit there and stare at the button for a while. Ah, the days. But anyways, aside from that, I already shared my thoughts on the injury animation thingy-majiggies, so no need to go into that again. After all of that stuff, which probably isn't playing yet, but we're gonna move on anyway, because Taps Watch, I have other things to do that isn't this. There was the turning animation. Yay! There wasn't a whole lot of note to say there. It was more of the, just like with the galley, it's a lot of shifting the weight, moving the feet, a little bit of the arms, some of the tail, some of the head. The same old, same old. It's a lot of, you know, more subtle things rather than things you're gonna notice, like, right away. Like, it does make a difference in the animation, of course. I'm not saying that these changes are dumb, they shouldn't be done because it's a waste of time. It's more or less interesting for people to watch because it's very, very subtle tweaking of the toes, the legs, the feet, the way the weight is shifted, all of that stuff. You don't always see it right away, and even while I'm skimming through this, I'll squint at it like, okay, I don't know what he just did there. Like, I saw him moving the leg, but why? And then you'll see the before and the after animation. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm seeing it now. However, in the moment, you're not normally going to be able to notice it. It's a lot of little nudges and tweaks that just, it's not as entertaining to look at, I've noticed. I mean, unless you like staring at feet, in which case you do you. However, I can't talk about slightly changing the direction of the toes, or how the foot is bending for, what is it, 18 minutes or something like that. Nah, I can't do it, man. Just can't. That and no one really wants to watch it. Even I love Cerato. You guys know I love Cerato. But I'm not gonna just sit there staring at the feet be rotated just slightly counterclockwise in order to line up properly with the rest of the model for 5 some odd minutes at a time. Even just 2 minutes is way more than enough. I'm starting to look away and go, what else could I be doing with my time instead of staring at this? So, thoughts on the turning animation. It's a turning animation. I mean, it's there, and it's turning. There's not a whole lot. The very, very last one, which will play eventually, it goes very, very fast, and that's not me who sped it up. That's him who did it. It was very fast at the ending, and I did try to slow it down to see if, maybe if I slow it down it'll look like, normal animation. It looked a little janky, so I didn't end up doing that in the end. So it's as it was at the end. I always try to show the very last animation that he does, because generally that's, everything he's worked up to. But it was very, very fast. He might have been looking for weird movements in the model or in the feet or anything like that. Don't know. But that's how it was, so that's how I left it. If I remember right, oh wait, no, the last one he showed was the, oh darn, it was the, injured thing again. It might have been turning injured animation or something, I don't remember. Anyway, that's the last one. So, thoughts on overall streamage. This one was a variety of animations, and it was more entertaining to watch for the most part. You'll notice this one's definitely a little bit longer compared to the other, well, some of the others. I won't say others in general, because as time goes on, you get a little bit more picky about what you choose and what you don't choose. Like, some of the tweaks I left in before weren't always necessary or dragged on too long. I'm trying to be a little bit harsher on what sort of stuff gets in versus what gets scrapped, stuff like that. That and this one just had more to it, you could say. I'm not gonna go back and check, but I would assume the swimming one would be the longest of the streams that I've done, and minus maybe the first few where I was still getting used to how I crop these things again. But, I would just imagine the swimming one would be the most, bulky of them, considering that one would have had quite a bit to work with, because the swimming one, I would say so far that's probably been my favorite of the batch that I've seen him work on, because it just had so much to it. But as for this one, looping back around, it did have a lot in it. Like, it had the severely injured, the mildly injured, and there was some turning involved as well. I think that was about it. But it was a variety of stuff instead of just the same walking again and again. Which, I mean, there was the alt attack a while back, and the polishing phase was already very small tweaks. And so that one I cut a lot out. But the following one, yeah, no, it wasn't necessary. I gave before, middle, after, and that was it. We didn't need to see the tiniest tweaks known to man made yet again. And it didn't have any, hidden goodies in it, as far as I'm aware. I don't remember if that was one that I caught the full one of or not. They all start to blur together after a while. But anyway, so far as streams goes, this one was alright. It had, again, variety, which is nice. And it had even if it was it's a walking one, it's more of an animated walking one instead of just plain walking. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but generally speaking, the walking ones are gonna be kinda boring. It's gonna be an animation you see a lot as well. So I'm not quite as invested in those. I mean, of course I'll still do it. I know there's gonna be people who are gonna be very, very interested in those, because on the other hand, it is an animation you're going to be seeing a lot, and you want to see how it's made, you want to give your feedback based on its progress thus far. You guys heard me whine a ton about the prior one because it's, again, an animation you're going to be seeing a lot. So to me, it's important, that's for sure. But watching how it's made isn't always as interesting because a lot of the tweaks made aren't quite as fascinating, you could say. Like, some of them, like, watching the arms be put in place, it's something you can see very clearly, and it has a very clear, you know, change on the animation. Watching the feet get rotated slightly is a little bit less so. I mean, it changes it, that's for sure. Like, the entire animation's different because of it. But actually watching it isn't quite as fascinating. But I guess you can argue that for just about anything now, couldn't you? But, yeah. It's better than the regular walking ones, but I wouldn't say it's super fantastic, awesome, or anything like that. My favorite thus far has still been the swimming attack animation. Just, I like that one a lot. How flowy it was, how much effort clearly went into it. That one was a nice one. The way Cerato moves in that one and everything, it looks really nice. I really liked that one a lot. Anyway, it does make me wonder which animations might start to pop up next and whether they'll be juvie or adult. I don't think we've seen Cerato, you know, anything special for a special ability sort of thing, but considering it's probably just the bite, that might be it. I wonder if we'll get to see any call animations tweaked or anything. I would say it's possible, considering I didn't expect to see the walking done, because I expected the walking to already be well beyond done by this stage. Because Cerato's, you know, he's been shown off in-game a little teeny tiny bit in, you know, in the trailer and whatnot, so I was like, yeah, you know, he'll probably already have the walking done Wave's hand. I doubt we'll ever see it. And then we did end up seeing it, so I was pretty surprised by that. I thought most of the, you know, the basic stuff would have already been well beyond done by now, but unfortunately not. I don't know what I was thinking, man. They don't use the roadmap much at all, so I was like, yeah, there's probably a lot done that just wasn't checked off. But it seems it actually just wasn't done, so I'm a little disappointed in that, but what can you do? I guess at least I get to watch it now. It is nice to see Cerato in the works and all that. It gives me hope that maybe we'll see it sometime decently, but I already talked about how long Troodon's been in testing, and it's like, man, if Troodon's taking that long and he was already done, basically, and Poison and Venom were already done, basically, I'm worried. I wonder how long it'll take Cerato then. Because, I mean, he's not as, what would you say, he's not as complicated as Troodon, and I mean, he's not going to be stacking stuff as far as we're aware. It's just a vomit thing. Granted, I think I touched on it the last time. I do wonder, you know, will it take several bites in order to induce the vomiting? Is there severity to it? Like, you puke a little bit, or you puke everything, or you puke multiple times? And I haven't actually, well, I mean, you guys know, I haven't played the game in a really long time. I'm not sure, like, I'm sure there's instances where you can puke in can you puke in combat currently? And if you do, does it make your dinosaur stop moving in order to puke? I would only ever puke while eating, and it was like once or twice, and that was very early on when it was first, you know, implemented. And I would eat this tiny speck of food when I still had a chunk of hunger left, and then I would puke. And it was fantastic. I loved it. Thanks, guys. Amazing. I guess I went 1 pixel too high or something like that. But anyway, it seemed to improve a little bit so far as, you know, the hair trigger on puking, but I don't know, like when you puke, does it force your little dude to just sit still? Because if it does that, I think that would be pretty darn good for Cerato to have to, you know, discourage things from bothering him too much. Like, if you're forced to stop and puke, that's pretty good, man. That's a pretty good ability. That's like a little stun you've got going there. And if nothing else, maybe it stops you from being able to bite for a little bit. Like, even if you can still move around, puking, you'd think you wouldn't be able to bite, at least during that time. So maybe it would help there. I mean, it wouldn't really hurt things like Stego or Tonanto that use their tails to attack. But that's, you know, predator-prey rather than, you know, defending yourself against something trying to bother you. But, yeah. Well, I mean, we know the Tonantos and Stegos are going to be bothering you for no good reason, but aside from, well, yeah, actually, you know, that would be nice, because if you nipped a stego and managed to get away and made the stego start to get really hungry, it would have to leave instead of body camping. So that would be pretty nice, actually. You know what, I'm starting to like Cerato's ability a little bit more, because all I hear about for, oh gosh, how long has it been? Since Stego came out, and I mean Tonantos did the same, where they'd body camp and be able to easily deny you food, which, I mean, in a game you can't really do much about it, but in real life, you know, of course it wouldn't happen, but it's games, and, but anyway, as Cerato at least, you know, you could give them a bite and make them start to starve out, and then, you know, maybe they'll leave you alone and then you can eat in peace. That would be pretty cool. Honestly, I'm starting to like the ability a little bit more. I had hoped that Cerato might get something a little extra. I mentioned, you know, because he's doing a septic bite rather than venom sort of thing. I was like, oh, well, maybe because the bacteria wounds will heal a little bit slower, so they bleed longer, something like that. That would be really cool as well, now wouldn't it? Like, it's nothing much. I'm not saying, oh, just make him bleed things out. No, I just a little bit more, just a little nudge more, so you get them to leave you alone, go wallow or something, whatever. Get the bacteria gone with that there dirt / mud or whatever, and go about your life somewhere away from the Cerato. Things that discourage long fights. The good stuff. But anyway, that's good. That's enough. I actually enjoyed myself talking about Cerato. It's been a while now, hasn't it? Anyways, have a great day, night, whatever time this is posted / you see it. And goodbye!
Thank you.